Carolina. He's with us here on Mad Dog Unleashed. Mike, good afternoon. Your turn. How are you today, pal?
Good, Chris. Two things. I agree with you totally on Brad Stevens. I think he's the best coach in basketball, and the Villanova coach to me is second. And then my second point is
see, the thing about Jay Wright is that you would argue is that Jay Wright has not proved that he can coach the greatest players and win a championship. Now, Krzyzewski's coached the Olympics, so that's why I give him a little bit of a pass. But the problem that you have with Jay, and I think Jay would be a great NBA coach, but he hasn't done it.
I do too. I agree. You're right. Yeah, I agree with that. I see where you're coming from that. And, Chris, the other point is Boston lost at home to Kareem and them in '85 in Game 6 of the NBA Finals. That was the other time that Boston lost at home.
Yeah, but that was not Game 7.
But it was you said they haven't lost at the deciding. I mean, that was a deciding game at home.
Yeah, but I said Game 7. I mean, I was talking about Game 7. Lakers went into that '85 with a Game 6. I'd have to go back and look. Russell never lost a Game 7 at home. So from that period, they never lost.
Yeah.
Bird lost to the Sixers once in Game 7. He lost to Game 5 of the Knicks. That's twice. Havlicek.
Oh, I see. When you're saying Game 5, that's the deciding game. That's
a deciding game.
Okay, I got you. Now, Chris, on the game, did you see the footage of LeBron shooting? For hours and hours before the game, and I'm a LeBron fan. I did. I was waiting for the Rocky theme to be played, and he came out on fire. He scored half his points in the first quarter, Chris. All right, I need to see it in the fourth. There was a point, Chris, where they were down 2 scores. Let me ask you this question. Would J.R. Smith take a shot like he did if Michael Jordan was the leader of the team? He would know better. You get the ball, LeBron. You don't throw up no garbage like that. He has to take – this has been the whole key. He's phenomenal, but we got to see it more in the fourth, Chris, not just the first quarter.
Well, we usually do. And he's done. He made some game winners. Good call, Mike. He was a little indifference. The wrong word. He looked a little dejected in the second half. We got a surprise, I believe, on line 10. Let's listen to who he is. Hello there. How are you today? Okay. Oh, you meant the commercial. Let's go to the Simply Safe listener line. It's brought to you by Simply Safe. Protect your home and family today at simplysafe.com/sports. Good. I was thinking that Pat Riley was calling me up on a contest line, get some thoughts, and instead it's a commercial I got to read. That tells you where my head's at. Pat doesn't listen to SiriusXM. Here's Xavier in Tampa, and he says hello, and he's on Mad Dog Unleashed. Xavier, good afternoon. Your turn. How are you today?
Mad Dog, good to hear you. As always, great show.
There you go, Dave. Thank you. What's up?
I'm getting tired of people saying, I don't want to bash LeBron, but then that's exactly what you end up doing. I mean, for goodness sake, the man had a triple-double last night. I mean, talk about he looked dejected. He was tired. He needs help. I heard you say that Michael Jordan would have done things differently or whatever. Well, LeBron James, I don't know if you noticed this, they showed a stat or something on TV the other day where LeBron James has the third worst team in the playoffs ever, all time. He doesn't have any help, Mad Dog. What do you want him to do?
Yeah, I don't know where they came up with the classification to say that they were the third worst team, but overall, Xavier, overall, I'm going to give you're right. I mean, he's got Love, who's a pretty good player. Love is a good number 3 on a very good team. I mean, that's what Love is on a very good team. You could get by with him as a number 3, preferably as a number 4. On a real big-time team. I mean, look at the old Lakers. He would not be 3. He would not be 3 on that team. He goes with Kareem,
the man,
Worthy, and Magic. He'd be 4. But go ahead. Shoot.
This man is pulling this team on his back. Everybody keeps forgetting about Michael Jordan. He was 1 for 9 for his first playoff games ever. 1 for 9.
No, he was losing to Boston and Detroit, to be honest. But I understand. Go ahead.
Yeah, but those teams. See, Michael Jordan, when he finally broke through, those teams weren't in their prime either.
That's true, too. That is accurate. Good call.
Come on, man, dog.
Yeah, listen, I get it. We're a little hard on LeBron. I don't want to go crazy. He did score 40-something points. He did have some moments late in the game where he had 3 or 4 baskets there, trying to get that lead down to 6. But he did have that. He looked dejected is the best way to explain it. Oh, geez, what am I going to do here? They looked a little dejected in the third. When that game was changing, he looked dejected, like he was powerless to do anything about it. Now, he probably would have been powerless. There's not enough talent in the Cleveland team. He's not playing Rodney Hood. Obviously, Larry Nance Jr. is all we know where he is. George Hill, you never count on. J.R. Smith is an erratic player who would be a very good seventh man, where those days he's into it, you let him play 25 minutes, and he takes 7 threes and make 4 of them. And then days he's not in it, you got to keep him out there. You got nobody else, and he stinks, like last night. Korver's all right. There's a lot of Korvers in the history of the NBA. And Love is a pretty good player. Not great. He's pretty good. So there are some issues with the talent level. Nobody's going to sit there and dispute that. Jeff in Philly is on Mad Dog Unleashed. Jeff, your turn. How are you today, pal? What do you have?
I'm great. Hey, Dog, I let your screener know. I'm looking to change gears a little bit and talk about this draft lottery debacle. Did you watch this? I got a few thoughts on it.
I did not see it, Jeff, because of the fact that I was still commuting. I don't like the idea that Memphis, who had the second worst record, ends up with the 4th pick. So there was things I didn't like about it. No, what? Go ahead.
So, yeah, this is not about the structure of the lottery itself, although we can agree that's a mess. But I've been listening to your show this week talking about how the NBA, they're stepping over themselves every chance they get, right? You got teams tanking. You got Stevens not even getting a vote for Coach of the Year. Just all these bad looks. This host, I know ESPN fired everybody in the world. They're cutting costs. This woman who hosted it clearly did not know who half the people were. As she was running across the podiums, pauses at Michael Finley, and is clearly looking at her notes to try to figure out what team he played for and who he was, as if she had just gotten there 5 minutes before the broadcast. I'm watching counterpuff interviews with the prospects, which is, of course, vintage ESPN trying to ingratiate themselves with these guys. Right. I'm watching Jamie Gertz at a podium sitting next to Jerry West. Why is Jamie Gertz there? They said she's an owner of the Atlanta Hawks. Doggy, I'm an owner of IBM because I got some of it in my investment. You're not going to put me at the podium. This thing, you've got to go back and watch it. It's a mess.
The Gertz thing, she's, again, the owner, wife. I'm not sure if she's the actual, I don't know, but I didn't see it. Who hosted the program? I don't know the person who hosted it. I'm surprised that that's where you wanted to go from a standpoint of that. That program's going to lose a little life. Remember, next year, all 3 of the lottery teams, the worst records, are all going to have an equal chance to win the lottery. It's going to be, so the 3 worst records next year all have the equal same amount of ping pong balls. Obviously, it didn't happen this year. Phoenix had the better 25% chance. Memphis had a 19% chance to win the lottery. Next year, it's different. And also, the 4th worst team next year is going to have a pretty good chance to win the lottery, too. They're trying to get away from the idea of tanking, which is a word that they just can't stand from that standpoint. Here's Andy in Seattle before we get to Zig. Andy, good afternoon. How are you today?
I'm good, Doggy. Hey, before I wax more poetic about the Celtics and their coach, I got a 3-series parlay: Celtics, Warriors, and then Tampa after they lost Game 1 to the Capitals. So that's a little.
Wow, that's pretty good. That's what is it? 10-1. That's an excellent parlay. I could see running there all 3. Now, how did you take Tampa though? After Game 2, when Boston already played a game?
No. So the Tampa Capitals started before the NBA, remember? Because we had to wait for the weekend.
That's correct. So Saturday, you made the play. That's correct. Okay, I'm thinking that Game 1 was Sunday. Yeah, Saturday. So after the first game on Friday night, they were 0-1 down. The Celtics hadn't started yet, so you had time to make that 3-team parlay. That's a good bet. That's very sharp. I give you credit there. Next.
So Stevens, I'm not going to say he's a genius, but, this team's really young. They've always had pride in the regular season where a lot of great teams, they kind of lay low. And Stevens has pride in competing on those 4 nights, 3-game stretches. So even like the great teams in the NBA have these self-inflicting flaws where they become their own worst enemy. The Celtics haven't done it for long stretches of time. Like Golden State, they're so good. They dribble the ball very sloppy sometimes. They've been so great for so long, they get bored and lackadaisical. Houston's another team. They're so talented offensively. They just stand around and watch Harden and Paul do their thing, and they're plagued with the D'Antoni defense bugaboo until they prove me wrong. Stevens will bench you if you're giving off an impression, if you're dogging it defensively. You mentioned Marcus Smart in your opener. Not a good shooter, but he gets.
He's not a good shooter, but boy, he's a winning player. He's a winning player, that Marcus Smart.
He sure does. Key steals, loose balls in the big moments. I don't think there's an advanced metric that can measure that. He's just kind of rises to the occasion. So, and one more thing about the Cavs and the LeBron. That first quarter was, classic throwback LeBron, except for the missed free throws. But, his roster stinks, and he was going to get tired after 48 minutes. It's not a video game, so, anything can happen. With, if you're a diehard Cavs fan, you think you're going to be able to even up this series. But the one worry that the Celtics had going into this playoff was who's going to make the big shot in the big spot. Horford's done it in the past, but he's not that type of player.
Right, and they've had a good call, Andy, and they've had a couple guys. Jaylen Brown can do that. Rozier obviously has shown that he can do that, and Tatum's shown that he can do that. Tatum hasn't done a whole hell of a lot in these first two games, and they're still winning. Boston's, I tell you, give them credit. Now, they're going to have some issues next year with bringing in the two other stars now. I mean, that's going to be a tricky job for Stevens. Irving, obviously, is a guy that wants the ball and he thinks it's his team. And Hayward hasn't played all year. And they're going to have to incorporate these two to the ball club while these four guys have found their way here, and they might go to the NBA final. So that's a tricky scenario for Stevens next year. Now, he'll do it because he's so good, but it is tricky. Zig is